What's your worst? I know this looks bad, but I can explain moment. Story 1. Mine's a little different. I was at a corporate function and noticed that the president of the company was trying to clean his glasses with a paper napkin. Being the well-prepared person I am, I always keep a microfiber cloth in my pocket. I wear glasses too, and I prefer to actually clean the glasses, not just smudge the oils around. I digress. So I reach into my pocket, grab a cloth, and hand it to him. And he responds with a confused huh. Now, at this time I also have a son who is going through potty training, so I tended to keep spare clothes, usually in my backpack, but also in the pockets of my overcoat. I look over, and the president of my company is kind of staring at the unused, thank God, pair of Jake and the Neverland Pirates underwear, boy's size small. I just handed him. And of course, my immediate response wasn't to laugh, wasn't to say, oh, those are my kids' backup pair. No, my response was to immediately say those aren't mine, which was 1. Obvious, and 2. Not guilty sounding at all. Story 2. My friend Anna was in her 20s, but she looked really young, easily as though she could be a minor. She had too much to drink at the bar, so I started carrying her home on my shoulders as she was having a really hard time walking. As we got to her house, I went to let her down and she fell off and smacked her head on the fence. She was wearing a skirt and as she fell it went up to her waist. I'm trying to get her to come to so she can go in her house when an old lady walks out on her porch and starts screaming, "What are you doing to that little girl? Where are her clothes?" I try to calmly explain that this is her house and I'm just a friend trying to get her home, but she just keeps shouting, "Where are her clothes? What have you done to her? She won't come to." And I realize just how bad the situation looks. So I tell the old lady we can call an ambulance. As I tell my friend we are about to call an ambulance, she immediately comes to and fixes her skirt and stands up. The old lady says, "Oh, you were right, I guess she had clothes the whole time." Story 3. This happened in high school, shortly after I started dating my first boyfriend. At the time, I would often wear a camisole with a built-in bra layered under a v-neck tee. One day, I was wearing this outfit but wanted to go shopping after school for other shirts, so I brought a regular bra with me to try stuff on. After I got out of the store, I for some reason didn't want to put the bra in my bag, so I put it in the armrest compartment between the front seats of my dad's car and, of course, immediately forgot it was there. The next day, my parents were getting ready to go somewhere. They had left the house, but moments later my mom barged back in, demanding to know why I was taking off my clothes in the car. I frantically tried to explain the clothes shopping story, but to this day, I'm not sure she bought it. Story 4. Sister came home to her boyfriend and our brother laying his head in his lap. Her BF was holding his head in his lap and stroking his head and back. She was confused, and as soon as she opened her mouth, her BF turned around. "Oh hey, be quiet, he just fell asleep." Apparently my brother got food poisoning and was throwing up constantly. Her BF showed up to return some things she left at his house. So being him, he helped our brother get some medicine from the store, change, and stroked his head on the couch till he fell asleep. It took a while since he was always getting up to throw up. We all laugh about it now. Edit, okay. To clear up some confusion, me and my sister are both 16. Her boyfriend is 17. And my brother is 19 going on 20 here soon. Also, my brother is shorter than her BF bro, 59, SBF 61. This happened like 3 months ago. Edit 2. And my brother and SBF are both bi, but SBF has only ever dated one guy years ago, and my brother is like basically gay at this point. LMFAO. And for all those asking, they consider each other brothers. Story 5. I was really tall in JR High. One of my best friends at the time was pretty short, and we had a running joke where he would use a little kid voice whenever standing next to me because I was so much taller. So one day we're playing tag around my church building. Grew up in a conservative house after most people had already left, and my buddy runs into the bathroom and locks himself in a stall. But I was taller than the wall of the stall, so I pressed up against it and looked down at him and said in my best creepy voice, "You can't hide from me." And he used his little kid voice to say, "Oh no, somebody please help." Of course, one of the old church ladies was standing in the doorway behind us, watching the whole thing with horror. Turns out she was there to clean and caught us at exactly the wrong time. Story 6. During lunch at my school, everyone would be in the lunchroom. It was a small school, so pretty much everyone ate at the same time. A friend of mine and I would skip lunch and spend the time just running around the school doing whatever we wanted. One day we were playing like an extreme form of hide and seek all around the school, and she ran into the bathroom. I went into the bathroom and stepped up on the toilet seat and peeked over the stall. I had planned on being like, "Ha, got you," but it wasn't my friend in the stall. The girl assumed I was trying to be a pervert and went and told a teacher. I got the "RUA" lesbian talk from a very conservative teacher at a very country school, and the girl went around telling everyone I was a weirdo and that I tried to watch her pee. Story 7. I was out one night and forgot my keys. Was trying to climb in an open downstairs window when a cop car pulled up outside. Not a good look. Thankfully, my housemate finally woke up and came down. We rented, so would have been hard to prove as my ID had a different address. Also, a dog followed me home and they asked if it was my dog and it was cute, so I said it was. Found the owner later in the week though. Good for him, them, bad for us. Story 8. This reminds me of my own church bathroom story. When my brother and I were kids, we would also play tag after church while the adults visited, except our tag was less conventional. Several of us would go into the men's bathroom after things got less busy. The last one would wait outside to a predetermined count. After the count was up, the last kid would enter the bathroom and shut off the lights. Whomever he tagged in the dark first was then it. Part of the fun was that you could climb all over the stalls, sink, and whatever else to avoid being tagged. One day, we were in the middle of a round when the door opened unexpectedly. One of the members of the church band turned on the lights and walked in to use the bathroom, and we all just froze. So this guy just walks into a formerly dark bathroom to see several kids standing motionless, one or two perched on top of the bathroom stalls. He just stopped for a second, then silently turned around and left. Story 9. Oh man, I was at a wedding one time and there were two friends at my table. Friend A gets up to go to the bathroom, and B goes about 30 seconds later. A comes back to the table A few minutes later, and B shortly after. But B's face drops when he sees him, and then he bursts out laughing. Apparently, when B got to the bathroom, there was only one person in there, and they were using the stall. B assumed it was his buddy, so he bent down, stuck his hand under the stall, started wiggling his fingers, and yelled, "Let me tickle those nuts." Then started caressing the guy's leg and saying, "I know you like it." I had gone to the other bathroom. We have no idea who the poor soul in the stall was. Hello, the editor here. That last story was too cool. Like and subscribe for more. Story 10. 4th grade. All of the kids in my class had figured out that they could get up to sharpen their pencils whenever they wanted, a way to break up the monotony, I suppose. Several students abused this privilege, and I didn't want to be counted among the abusers, as Mrs. Spangler had become vocal about this. During an assignment, my pencil was dull to the point that the wood was scratching on my paper. I decided to use my thumbnail to break the wood away from the tip and expose the graphite so that I didn't have to sharpen it. As I was doing this, my teacher walked by and exclaimed, "You're trying to break your pencil." I didn't have time to establish a defense before she admonished me in front of the class. I still think about it sometimes. I'm 37. Edit, you all are cracking me up with your stories. It's nice to know that I wasn't alone in my anxiety-riddled adolescence. Story 11. 3rd grade for me. Our school had finally upgraded its computer lab to Windows 95 and would let teachers hold a class there with different educational software from time to time. Now, granted, I was a little bit of a privileged crap back then. Several kids in this class had barely touched a computer a couple times before this, but my parents owned one, so of course I had to show off I already knew how to use it, etc. We were doing some program that gave math questions based on the lesson we were on. I was used to computers and quick at math, so I was completely slouched in the chair, head resting on the backrest, the way I used the computer at home, and dully clicking the answers with one hand. The computer just kept generating simple math problems, and I was getting bored. The teacher came up right behind me and asked why I was slouching like that, and I think I said that I found the questions easy. "Oh, well, they sure are easy when you're cheating off your neighbor's screens," she declared, and took the mouse from me, closed the lesson, deleted my progress, and made me start over from the beginning. I tried to point out that I was just slouching for comfort because I do it at home, and at any rate, I was 5 questions ahead of everyone I could see, but she didn't believe me. I guess I would have gotten in actual trouble if it had been graded, but since it was just supposed to be a cool lesson in using computers, my only punishment was having to do the whole problem set again while those who were finishing up got to play the incredible machine. And you're right, I still think about that moment. Mrs. Orsak. Story 12. While my husband was in nursing school, he lived at home with his parents. He had a similar experience while he was studying for anatomy. He had looked up something to do with the male genitalia, made his note, and continued on with his studying while leaving the browser open to an anatomical junk. His dad popped into the room to ask him something, looked at the screen, mumbled okay, and walked away while my husband yelled out, "I can explain." Both my husband and my mother-in-law are nurses, and the topics they freely discuss are ones that, if overheard, would absolutely warrant "I can explain." Story 13. I was 18 or 19 and was really close friends with a girl who had a little sister, and her birthday was coming up. I can't remember how old the sister was, but she was still in the Chuck E. Cheese era, and that's where she wanted to go. Parents said no, but we said yes and were happy to take her. I didn't consider the image until we arrived. My friend had fallen off her longboard a few days prior and had a pretty nasty black eye. The little sister was in gymnastics and had injured her arm recently then as well and was in an arm sling. So in walks in a very young-looking couple with a child, and both women were sporting fresh injuries while I was unscathed. The look from the hostess or whatever position she was said it all. I even felt like a monster despite not being responsible for any of it from all the glances I got from the staff. I'm shocked the cops weren't called. Story 14. A female friend of mine who is a police officer was on a welfare check and was bit by the property owner's dog. She was about a mile from my house when bit, and because I am an EMT, she decided to call me to see if I could inspect where she was bitten and advise if she needed to go to the hospital. She show up at my house and limps into the kitchen telling me the dog bit her just below her left butt cheek on the rear of her upper thigh. I was worried that the bite had broke the skin and she would need to get it bandaged and possibly get a rabies shot. I told her that I would have to take a look at the bite to help her. So she takes off her duty belt and pulls her pants down to around her knees to expose the bite area. It didn't look too bad, but there were 2 spots where the dog's teeth had broke the skin. I told her I would bandage it up so she could make the 20-minute drive to the clinic. I was just about to bandage her leg when my wife walks through the door. There I am with one of our female friends standing in our kitchen in her police officer uniform. Pants down, she was wearing a thong. I was sitting, so basically her butt was in my face and my hands on her upper thigh, but we both had the deer in the headlights stare as we realized how bad this must have looked to my wife. We then both shouted out in unison, "It was a dog bite." Story 15. One of my friends was in a cycling accident commuting home from class one night and wound up in the ER. She needed someone to make sure her dog, Fox, is taken care of, and tells me she left her bedroom window unlocked so I should be able to get in the house. Now Fox is semi-familiar with me, but I still don't like the idea of crawling in a window and facing a pretty big dog unannounced. So I've got the window in the alley cracked and I'm trying to call Fox and let her know that I'm there and coming in. I'm saying stuff like, "Hey, Foxy girl, Foxy lady," etc., etc. Meanwhile, the upstairs neighbor hears all of this while she is sitting on the toilet and thinks someone is doing some perv peeping Tom stuff looking into windows. Luckily, it was all cleared up pretty quickly as we were all college kids that saw each other in and out fairly often, but it almost took a bad turn. I got super high and drunk one night with my best friend and his GF. They stayed at my house. My friend is a loud snorer, so his GF ended up sleeping on my couch. My best friend in my guest room upstairs. At 4 a.m. I woke up still pretty drunk and high. For some reason I felt the need to check social media but couldn't find my phone. Drunk and high me decided to go downstairs to find my phone. Without realizing his GF was on the couch, I reached down by a pillow to check for my phone. She wakes up, and I'm left there having to explain at 4 a.m. why I'm grabbing her face. I don't think she believes my story to this day, and I look like a rapist. My phone was in my pocket the whole time.